So our theme for this month is Universal Creative Genius. And the topic for today is spiritualfreedom.com. And this morning I stand before you as an example of the theme for this month's talk, Universal Creative Genius. Merlin the magician, remember that?
Yes.
The sorcerer, the wizard, was out of the creative genius of medieval Welsh poetry and Arthurian legend, the creative minds of writers and storytellers of the Middle Ages. And who but the Imagineers of Walt Disney's current day creative geniuses can put Mickey ears on Merlin's hat, paint it bright blue, and put your name on it if you want. Can you see what that says?
No.
It says the Rev.
Oh.
So universal creative genius, how it moves and flexes with the times. Ernest Holmes, through all of his writings, extolled the universal creative genius within all mankind, while always remembering or reminding us of our responsibility to call it forth from our own innermost being. So today's topic is spiritualfreedom.org. Because like the modern day internet, spiritual freedom is everywhere, equally present all the time. But we must access it for our own use, which means we must activate our own universal remote. Spiritual freedom is not something to be earned or even gifted to us. It's a part of the package when you arrive here in this plane of existence. And each January, it's my joy to revisit the basics of our spiritual philosophy in ever-expanding descriptions of how it works in real time. We get to review these precious first 4 chapters of the text, The Science of Mind, to refresh our minds and to renew our intentions to grow in consciousness. You also have the opportunity to read each of those brief but powerful chapters at the very front of the book. Each chapter is 10 pages or less. They're quick reads. So it doesn't take long to read one, but the impact lasts indefinitely. Because understanding them is your cue to spiritual freedom. The first chapter is titled The Thing Itself. Catchy title, don't you think? Throughout Ernie's writings, lectures, and class notes, he uses lots of other titles like First Cause, Spirit, Mind, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff, the intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation. They're all synonymous with the thing itself. Once you know the definition of the thing itself, it makes it so much easier. He defines it in that first chapter of the first book he wrote. And within us, and he never changed that. He never diluted that. The mind which we discover within us is the mind that governs everything. This is the thing itself. And we should recognize its simplicity. Today, and this month, let's add to that by recognizing that with the acceptance and practice of this realization comes the unfolding universal spiritual freedom. And let's know that we must not separate life from living, spirit from matter, or divine principle from universal creation. Here are some examples to consider. The gardener finds a divine idea concealed in a seed. The geologist finds the imprint of invisible forces in a rock. The scientist finds energy concealed in an atom. And the spiritual genius discloses an intuitive knowledge which can be accounted for only on the theory that we live in the lap of infinite intelligence. I love that phrase, in the lap of infinite intelligence. It's not somewhere that you have to go. It's not something that you must effort in order to receive. You're already cradled in the lap of infinite intelligence. History, of course, is replete with these kinds of realizations from philosophers, from poets, from economists, scientists, and dreamers. Little side note there. Walt Disney calls his dreamers Imagineers. And because spiritual freedom is the birthright of every soul which shows up here in human form, we cannot help but express the diversity our individuation requires. Just look around you at that individuation and how it expresses. Some of it's inherent in the package when we arrive on planet Earth. You know, like the color of our skin, the color of our eyes, the color of our hair, whether you're male or female, your birth parents. All of those are in place at the moment of your arrival here. Some of these things change as you grow, some by conscious attention and others by maturation. Yet throughout history, the human being often tries to separate or outlaw the differences. Hello, what is it we don't understand about the individuality of differentness as a part of the whole? Why do we miss the realization that the inherent nature of humankind is freedom? A constant seeking to express oneself in terms of freedom. It's easy when it comes from within about ourselves, isn't it? And then when we begin to apply it to our neighbors, to other nationalities or religions, other political parties or economic ideas, you see, that expansion then becomes the challenge. Where did we get the ideas that expressing oneself must be at someone else's expense? Where did that come from? We're a curious bunch, this human race, don't you think? I mean, when you stop to think of it, we're a curious bunch. We love different colors in things, like landscape, paintings, clothing. We're very specific in our individual choices of music. What personally brings us a special sense of sound is not universally the same, is it? We have individual likes and dislikes in food and drink. And with a modicum of effort, we can enjoy our individual tastes at nobody else's expense. So why not realize that spiritual choices carry those same freedoms with them at no one else's expense? Where is it written that we must all walk the same way? You see, universal principles are just that, universal. Universal principles are never respecters of persons. And by that, Holmes means they are universally available and usable by everyone. And at whatever level we grasp that, we are that. That's how we demonstrate the level of our consciousness, or in common terms, how we express universal mind at the individual level. What a resource. What potential exists inherently in all of us. Doesn't matter how old you are, how tall you are, what your current financial status is, or your name even. You can draw from life what you think into it. And you maintain your identity through your personal use of these universal principles. And as we come to know that, we understand why our own joyous, fulfilled life need never be at someone else's expense. So, the road to spiritual freedom is always within our grasp. We're here on purpose, and we come with the tools to express that purpose. We have varying mental, physical, emotional tools with which to do that. And when I use the term spirituality, which I do frequently in case you haven't noticed, I mean conscious intelligence. Conscious intelligence. Discovering and using universal laws and principles. Accepting and glorifying the divine nature within us. You see, this divine nature is in each of us, dear ones. We didn't miss you or anybody else in that inclusion. That within us that partakes of the nature of divine being can only do so because it recognizes it. Therefore, in that regard, we are divine. It reacts to us according to our belief in it, our trust in it. We cannot change the divine by violating it, denying it, or ignoring it. So the road to spiritual freedom is no mystery. Rather, it's an inherent skill. That which, when recognized, can be consciously directed and definitely used. The mind which we discover within us is the mind that governs everything. This is the thing itself. And its most basic expression is that which we are. And so it is.